G'day folks, Spackman here. Absolutely thrilled to be with you as we look at dragons today. Some dragbats hit, some great queen charge, sort of variation with dragbats, some really brilliant stuff, both fresh and clean up. Alright, so the first hit is on Big Daddy by Jason James. And first off, just have a look at this base. Not its layout, but particularly, we have 3 single Infernos and 4 ground expos. This base is, with those constructs, is not going to work with meta at the moment. As soon as we saw this base, everyone was just looking at it and trying to think of how they could hit it with anything, because anything at the moment that is decent is basically going to do well against a base like this. So it starts off the funnel on the left with the E-Drag. I imagine he wanted a tiny bit more value there. The Queen on the right, Dragons, Balloons down the middle, and he was saving a siege for the Town Hall there. And the King's doing some funneling at the top. I imagine was intended to get that air defense, but doesn't quite pass there. And this was a fresh hit, by the way, as well. So bats are down. There's a freeze shortly on this wizard tower over here. Actually, I imagine he just forgot about his king and using its ability early enough. The town hall's also down now as well. And this should have been a far more overwhelming victory than it ended up being. But he does miss a freeze later on here in a second, and a red air mine ends up being set off by, I think, his dragon, and ends up destroying all of his bats right near the end. So, I mean, he still gets a victory, and it wasn't like he just got it by the slimmest of margins, but it should have been a lot more overwhelming than it was, considering the nature of the Infernos and the ground expos. And yeah, so that's basically done for that hit. Don't run single Infernos and ground expos at the moment. I mean, en masse. Feel free to use 1 or 2 if you feel your base warrants it, but in general, well, any more than sometimes even 1 single Inferno ain't a good idea. The next one, number 17, Darcy. So this is up there with one of my actually, he had 2 brilliant hits from this war. I really like both his hits. So this one here is a queen charge dragbat. I don't think I've ever seen a queen charge dragbat before. The previous hit, I think, was a peckabo bat, so it was quite a different hit as well. It wasn't like this was inspired from anything. And anyway, so he uses the wrecker to go in, and the queen ends up helping take down the town hall. And then the bats are pretty certain to deal with his back section, because as you can see, from this wizard tower, even to this wizard tower, there is nothing on the other side of those wizard towers. On the the north or northwest side, that's a splash defense on the entire base. So it was all heavy to this sort of front side of the base. And so once he gets that down, there's just nothing left that can, hinder the bats at all. So, the queen charge is still going strong, and the dragons go down. So I'm a little bit blocked up at the moment. So dragons are all down there with a few balloons as well. The queen still has her ability and now has the town hall down. Warden ability to help get through that area with all the expos and the queen a little bit, as well as the eagle artillery fire. And they're getting through that under rage, and now the bats come through to help sort of give a wave of support to those dragons there. And they're going to make their way towards that splash section, the last remaining section on the base, with the Inferno and the Wizard Tower there. But 3 freezes, just used basically one after the other to get through this area, is just makes it a really simple victory, and it's really well done. So we've got a couple dragons left at the end, but in general, I just loved the variation that was put into this attack compared to the standard dragbat attack, in identifying the fact that you can queen charge this section and then still use a dragbat for the rest. I really like that variation, hence I really like this attack by Darcy. And I did just record another video on some Pekka bats, and again, another brilliant hit by Darcy in that. So he's pulling out some absolute buttes, that's for sure. This one here by old mate BRG 325. Now this was a fresh hit, and in the end only just manages to get the job done. I keep trying to fast forward, I don't know why. But fresh hit and got the job done, and instantly identifies the fact that the sweepers are pointing away from the bottom side. So naturally he's just like, thank you very much, I'm going to come in that side with my dragons. So king and queen to help sort of set up a bit of a funnel there. Some E-drags, dragons, balloons, all coming through with the slammer as well as the warden. So that's going through that area. Rage, town hall's down in 2 ticks. Unfortunately, the warden is a little bit behind, so wasn't able to protect what was hitting the town hall exactly. But it wasn't the biggest problem in the world. The king started left, and he's gone way right. Anyway, so they're going through here. Let's go out a bit, because I always end up missing where the bats end up coming in from. Now, the dragons have split a bit here, and obviously that wasn't necessarily intentional. But there we go. The bats are in from the right, but he's got, I think, 4 freezes to play with. And as a result, because of what's left, again, both the wizard tower and the inferno, like in the last replay, are right next door to each other. These type of bases with those easy freeze 2 splash in one go, sort of, they just don't work at the moment because of, even with Pekka bat, but with dragbat now back in the scene as well, it really isn't a good way to go. So in the end, it becomes really close. And I tell you what, this warden is a clutchy bastard. Does a fantastic job in getting this through. But even though it was very close, it was still a fresh hit. So we're going to fast forward through the end of it. And Warden, with his newfound strength since he was moved up to level 40, compared to when he used to be 30, manages to help get the job done with a couple minions. So well done there, BRG. And the final one was the final triple of the war against their number 1 by Dallas. Now this was a clean-up and a hit that was done in the final minute of the war. So a bit of planning involved in this, but once again, note the direction of the sweepers, and hence the dragons are going to be coming in from about 11 o'clock. And the king sort of funnels at right-hand side to make sure they come in and they sort of curve round into the base, into the centre. And then I believe there are also a few sort of dragons and a slammer that comes in on the left-hand side to try and help destroy that area, to keep the dragons going in from 11 to 12 down to the middle of the base, as you can sort of see there. And Warden ability to get through this sort of damaging area, as well as the Giga Tesla, and to navigate all of the Eagle artillery fire and everything going on over there. Running through everything here, so obviously sweepers aren't a problem. The air defense in the middle, that was the last air defense to go down now. And it's just the queen still to go. And she goes down in just a second, although that was pretty close to getting the queen down. And then the bats come up. Again, not too much splash remaining, just this final Inferno Tower. And even though there's no freeze for it, there are that many bats up at the moment that it just has no chance in getting through them. And again, at this point in time, all done and dusted. So there we go. That's another fantastic 4 brilliant drag attacks. And particularly, as I said, my favourite, the queen. I love a queen charge. The queen charge drag bat hit by Darcy. Brilliant. Anyway, guys, thanks. Hope you enjoyed. Like the video, subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next video.